Hello, welcome to Local Anesthetic Podcast, your bi-weekly-ish injection of mind-numbing local news. That person you can hear laughing, Rob, don't laugh over the opening, is Rob. It is the 6th of June, this is a Sunday. It is episode 338 for the fastidious amongst you. We're recording about 10:20 in the morning. How the devil are you, Rob?
Not too bad. Apologies for laughing over the intro. It was I forgot that obviously this is a bi-weekly podcast, and so it confused me not hearing the regular introduction. How am I? Yeah, I'm not too bad. I've been quite lucky. I've been off for most of last week, so I've been enjoying the sun. The sun. I don't think I've got too much of a tan, but it's been nice. Yeah. I had my first jab, which resulted in very little side effects. I think I had a sore arm for a couple of days, but so far that's it. So yeah, all good.
Right. Well, good. I mean, it was just a pleasantry, really. The how are you, Rob? We didn't really need to know everything,
right.
But it's really news because I feel like people have probably been waiting for this episode for a long time. I want to just get on with it. You're talking about jabs. I have a story about jabs. I am due to have my jab this week, by the way, for anyone who's interested. Any news, Rob, that you want to report?
Not really, no. I think we hinted at the on the last episode that there may be a listener special coming shortly.
Oh yeah, we forgot about that.
I think that's still very much on the cards. So potentially, I'm going to say 340 will make a listener episode, if that's okay.
Yeah, 340. Okay, nice. Really probably should be 350, but 340 is fine. Okay, Rob, then let's just get on with it. You're talking about jabs. You're talking about vaccinations. You're talking about this... like, it never gets better, does it, Rob, this situation? Everything is just so shambolic. It's just, and who the fuck is trying to go on holiday at the moment? What kind of, anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't want to joke. Maybe some of our listeners are listening to this abroad at the moment, but I do think it's...
Look, I understand it because people are desperate to go abroad, but I think
why are you desperate to go abroad?
Why would you take the risk?
I understand, but...
I
understand that, but some people aren't lucky enough to be able to fly anywhere. I mean, you can put these things on the back burner for a time, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, this country is, we've said a lot about this country, but at the moment, thankfully, we have had some sunshine. There are parts of this country that are beautiful, and if you're that desperate, just go down to Cornwall. It's a lovely place. There's also, there's nice places across this country. Just, if you can, just delay going abroad for at least a couple of months.
Rob, this story is from the traitorous Guardian. You may have seen this, I'm not sure. It comes by way of Argentina. So basically, you will remember, Rob, I'm sure, that the first man to get the coronavirus vaccine in this country was a man called Bill Shakespeare, who was 81 years old.
Of course.
And presumably his full name was William. My middle name is William, by the way. In fact, from now on, Rob, I'd like it if you could just call me Bill. Yeah? Or Billy.
Sure. I'm happy with that. Yeah, fine.
Do you know something, Rob? I regularly get emails addressed to a person called Billy from like quite far right-wing news outlets in the United States, like Trump supporting pro-NRA rifle. I get lots of things about rifles. Somebody's got my email address on something and thinks that I am a supporter of these groups.
You're joking.
And sends me relentless emails about. No, it's been going on for a long time, and it has my surname in them as well. But my first name apparently is Billy. So somebody signed me up for this shit. But anyway.
I mean, okay, let me just be the first to say it's not me, because I know I'm the obvious suspect. I would see it as a prank, but it's not me. Have you tried unsubscribing?
That hasn't worked. Anyway, look, Rob, I don't want to bog the podcast down in my email woes. And look, Rob, the story, which came out recently, I think, 28th of May, by Sam Jones and Yuki Goni. In what can only be described, Rob, as a comedy of errors, an Argentinian news channel delivered a stunning, if slightly flawed, scoop on Thursday night when it reported that, this isn't a joke, Rob, this happened, I've seen it. It reported that William Shakespeare, in quotes, one of the most important writers in the English language, had died 5 months after receiving the COVID vaccine. They reported this as breaking news. The gaffe of Shakespearean proportion...
How did no one... I mean... Okay, I mean, we're talking about one of the greatest literary figures who ever existed. I appreciate that he may not be as prevalent in Argentina as he might be in this country or the States, but you would have thought someone would have picked up on that.
I thought he died in, what was it, 1974, around that time.
That's right, yeah.
It was a few decades ago, I think. Anyway, the gaffe of Welsh Shakespearean proportions happened after Noelia Novillo, a newsreader on Canal 26, mixed up the bard with William Bill Shakespeare, an 81-year-old Warwickshire man who became the second person in the world to get the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine. And he died from a stroke, Rob. Didn't you have the Pfizer?
I did, Alex, yeah, but I think I suspect those two things were unrelated.
Well, William Shakespeare died.
5 months is a long time.
Yeah, but that's because there's a chip in them, Rob, and they can activate at any point. I was listening to a woman on the radio the other day saying you can upload software to these vaccines, and she sounded like she knew what she was talking about. She said that she has got her information from, experts in viruses. And who am I to argue with her?
When she says experts in environments, does she mean some loser in his bedroom with a phone uploading to YouTube?
I don't know. William Shakespeare died in I just want to say, that's obviously in humour. William Shakespeare died in 1616 while his namesake, an inpatient at the frailty ward at University Hospital Coventry at the time of his first vaccination, died this week from a stroke unrelated to the jab. Sadly, the distinction was lost on Novillo as she informed viewers of the playwright's death during the 8 to 10 p.m. slot on Thursday. She said, "We've got news that has stunned all of us given the greatness of this man. We're talking about William Shakespeare and his death. We'll let you know how and why it happened." Over footage of Bill Shakespeare chatting as he received the vaccine, the newsreader added, "As we all know, he's one of the most important writers in the English language. For me, he is the master. Here he is. He was the first man to get the coronavirus vaccine. He died in England at the age of 81. After the clip exploded across social media, Novillo explained that she had expressed herself badly and blamed the error on absent punctuation. This has nothing to do with fucking punctuation.
What an excuse that is.
I know.
Absent punctuation.
Brilliant, isn't it?
I mean, that is absolutely extraordinary.
Over the past 3 hours, as I'm sure you will have seen, a report has gone viral. I actually knew what I was saying to people, just like I always do, she said. I expressed myself badly. I missed out a full stop, a comma, some brackets. I wanted to clear something up that was very unclear, and of course people misinterpreted it. By then, the damage had been done and the snarking had begun. There are only a few years between them, wrote one Twitter user. Let us not weep for William Shakespeare, urged another. He lived his life and enjoyed people's affection for centuries. Another added, such a fuss over William Shakespeare's death, but they didn't mention that he was in such a bad way that he hadn't produced a hit in centuries. Overrated. It's true. He has gone through a pretty lean streak, Rob.
Yeah. I mean, I always preferred his early stuff, to be honest.
Okay, Rob. Let's turn from one oppressive regime, Britain and its authoritarian vaccine program, to another authoritarian regime, North Korea.
Right. Good.
The Metro. I don't know how long it's been this, but their tagline is now "News, but not as you know it." Did you know that?
It's been like that for a while,
right.
Alex. Yeah. I don't know whether the editor is a big fan of Star Trek, but.
I assume so.
No, it's been like that for a good while. Can I also just say that the Metros, because I've got a few stories from the Metros today, and their website is just an absolute car crash. I mean, the ads are so intrusive.
Got no ads on my web page here, Rob. Just so you know.
Right.
But,
okay.
Maybe since you've had the vaccine, you're being targeted, and we'll find out after I get my jab. Do I start getting ads on the Metro? And that will be science, Rob. Tested hypotheses. Right, let's get on with it. This is by
I would say, Alex, can I, just before you start, the ads aren't on my screen, they're in my brain. Is that a problem?
One day, Rob, can you imagine? That's the future. That is actually genuinely the future that some people want for us all. Can you imagine that, Rob? You wake up in the morning and there's an advert in your head for, I don't know.
I'd imagine
Maplins,
you'd lose your
which is
sanity
closed down
quite quickly.
What? Sad that was about Maplins. I like browsing around Maplins. It was a nice browsing shop. You never bought anything on there. You just obviously go on Amazon and get it. But
oh god, yeah, you never bought anything from Maplins because it's hideously overpriced, which is probably why they went out of business.
That's not true. I brought cables from Maplins quite regularly. I should take that back.
Yeah, but only out of desperation. You wouldn't go there as a matter of choice.
No, I did. I specifically went on a trip to Maplin's.
Okay, well, that's a lovely anecdote there.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Right, look, Lawrence Dollimore from the 15th of May. There are fears, this is a headline, fears mullets and skinny jeans will tear North Korea down like a damp wall.
Sorry, are we saying that North Korea has just reached the 1980s in the US? What do they mean?
North Korea fears mullets and skinny jeans will tear their country down like a damp wall if they're not stamped out. A state-run newspaper warned on Thursday that more needed to be done to fight the invasion of a capitalistic lifestyle, in quotes, from the exotic and decadent West. It comes after dictator Kim Jong-un toughened laws in December so that repeat fashion crime offenders, including those with dyed hair and piercings, could be sent to labour camps. Has that guy seen his own fucking haircut? Jeez, I mean, I
admire that haircut, Alex.
The Rodong Sinmun, an arm of the country's ruling Workers' Party, wrote, "History teaches us a crucial lesson that a country can become vulnerable and eventually collapse like a damp wall, regardless of its economic and defence power, if we do not hold on to our lifestyle." The newspaper warned young people in particular against following the exotic and decadent lifestyle of capitalism. "We must be wary of even the slightest sign of capitalistic lifestyle and fight to get rid of them," it added. In December last year, North Korea made punishments tougher for those found to be in possession of videos made in South Korea, such as Gangnam Style. As part of the crackdown, the leader also banned non-socialist hairdos like the mullet, while spiky and dyed hair were also outlawed. So, Rob, the mullet is a is a capitalistic hairstyle. It's non-socialist, according to them.
I mean, I would argue the mullet has never been a capitalist hairstyle.
So they're right.
I mean, first of all, where are they getting their influence from? Because, I mean, have I missed something? Is the mullet back in fashion?
Well, the picture that Metro have used is of Joe Exotic. So, maybe they think that we all, look like him.
Look like him, apparently.
Locals seen rocking green highlights inspired by Billie Eilish were reportedly forced to go to the hairdressers to remove them. A part of the draconian laws, men and women must have one of 15 alternative yet very similar haircuts. The Provincial Youth League recently issued an order on proper hairstyles and clothing. The document says mullets or other unauthorised hairstyles are anti-socialist behaviour and part of the, in quotes, yellow wind of capitalism. Also outlawed, Rob, a Western...
There's some great...
I know.
Sorry. The yellow winds of capitalism. That has to be an episode title.
Yeah, or you could put it in there. It sounds like a fart, doesn't it?
It does.
Also outlawed, a Western-style clothing such as ripped or skinny jeans, slogan emblazoned T-shirts and nose and lip piercings. And, so that's that.
I just get the impression that somewhere on like North Korean television, they've just had access to. I'm trying to think, it's like a Hawaii 5-0 or sort of
like Neighbours when I was a kid, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Yes. So basically, they've just had all these old television shows. They've just been released by the censors, and suddenly all the use of copying the fashion of the day, despite the fact obviously it's probably about 40 years out of date.
Yeah. Well, look, Rob. I mean, let's move on to another distasteful, I would say, regime. Now, Rob, didn't we have a story a few months back, maybe a bit longer, about Steven Seagal? I think I had it, and there was some sort of tickets for him attending it was like some local town hall in some village here somewhere, wasn't it, to give a talk on something. Do you remember what the fuck that was about?
I seem to remember it was something to do with, I have a feeling it was like as you rightly say, it was like a town hall meeting somewhere up north in a really sort of parochial backwater. But I have no idea what the context was.
Rob, why is it that you and me don't remember stuff from the very podcast that we do? Because I'll tell you something, when I was growing up and you'd listen to interviews from kind of like your comedy heroes or whoever it was, like it could be somebody like Steve Coogan or whoever it is, or Armando Iannucci, or whoever it is. And when you'd hear interviews with them and people would talk to them about specific things, it would always amaze me that they couldn't remember certain details, because I'd think, this is your show, surely you're obsessed with it. And it would always perplex me, or bands as well. Same thing with bands and the songs they've done. But now, having done this podcast for so long, I kind of understand why that is. Because look, we do the podcast. I have to listen to it like once or twice again afterwards. I have to edit it, then re-listen to it, make sure everything's okay. So they should be drummed into my head. I know I had a story about Steven Seagal, but I couldn't tell you fuck shit about it.
Alex, I think it's fair to say that you have to appreciate that we get through probably on average, I would say at least 6-7 stories an episode. We've been doing this now for 9 years.
Yeah.
That's a lot of content.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, at this point in time, I'm suffering from quite severe sleep deprivation. And I struggled beforehand to remember content. Now, fuck me, I can't remember anything.
Right. Well, let's see if we remember this story in a few months. It's by, it's just, they've reprinted it from Reuters in Moscow. 30th of May. The headline, Hollywood actor Steven Seagal joins pro-Kremlin party.
What is he doing? I mean, seriously, what is his life?
The Hollywood actor Steven Seagal, a longtime admirer of Russian President Vladimir Putin, has joined a pro-Kremlin party, the party said on Sunday. Seagal received a membership card of an alliance named A Just Russia, Patriots for Truth on Saturday, a video released by the party showed. It was formed earlier this year when 3 leftist parties, all of which support Putin, merged. Seagal, a Russian citizen since 2016. I did not know that.
When did that happen?
2016.
Also, sorry, there are leftist parties that are pro-Trump. God, there was a slip of the tongue. That are pro-Putin. How does that work?
Because
they have no choice.
That, but also because Putin embodies all of the core tenets, Rob, of socialism. He is Lenin reincarnated, really.
Sure. Also, I must admit, the fact that Steven Seagal is an admirer of Putin comes as no surprise whatsoever.
Rob, this is at what point, I keep saying it. All right, Rob, just step back with me for a second, right? I'm just going to go off on a flight of fancy. I'm sorry. Just step back with me for a second. And when I mean step back, I mean, I want you to, in your mind, and the listeners now, I actually want you to do something for me. I want you to withdraw in your mind from this moment, from your family, your loved ones, everything you think you know about your life. I need you just to withdraw from it and step back and imagine that you were viewing all of this played out on a stage in front of you, like a Shakespeare play, right?
Yeah.
So now you're looking at it. So, Rob, I know it's hard because you've had a baby, but I need you just to step back and look at everything, right? As if you are an observer.
Okay. I'm there.
If this, Rob, was a movie, right? And you were watching it, it would stretch the bounds, Rob, of credibility. That if, like, the characters in the story you were watching were part of some parallel universe or some sort of alternate timeline, it would stretch credibility that they hadn't noticed it by now if you saw the kind of things happening that we've seen happening in this world. I'm reading out a story about Steven Seagal, right, becoming a Russian citizen and joining a pro-Vladimir Putin party recently, right? This is just another story in the long line of bizarre, odd, ridiculously surreal stories that you and I have covered and some of which we haven't covered. At what point, what I mean is, in the Matrix, if all this shit had been happening before Neo somehow realised I'm living in a Matrix, we would have said this man's an idiot. At what point do we say this is now stretching the bounds of anything that's believable? Trump should have done it, but yet we're still here, still living our lives, still going, yep, this all sounds about right.
I think you could go one step further because you think that, if you think of Under Siege, Seagal was once seen as like an all-American action hero, defending the freedoms of the United States, and now somehow he is at a party supporting one of America's sworn enemies.
Yeah.
And is also a Russian citizen, apparently.
And what brings another element to this is that, I think Russia and North Korea are pretty close in some ways behind the scenes, but he wouldn't be able to go to North Korea because of his haircut.
Hang on. We know that he's good friends with Kim Jong. I think he would make an exception.
Maybe. So look, but I mean, I'm just going to leave what I said hanging in the air. I just want you to imagine all these events you've seen play out since around, let's be honest, since around 2001, since the turn of the millennium. Rob, I say it to you again. Catastrophe was predicted when the year turned 2000, right? Y2K. We just assume we averted it. How do we know?
So you're trying to maintain that in the year 2000, the Y2K bug in some way created this divergent timeline?
Yes.
I mean, it's not beyond the realms of possibility.
No. I'm just saying, at what point of crazy do we have to get to before we're like, okay, this is, do you know what I mean? What point is it?
I do think we've already gone past that, quite frankly. We've just had a global pandemic.
So we're just enjoying the ride now, are we? We're just enjoying it. We're just like, okay, this is the season where everything just got weird. This is just a season where everything gets weird. There's that in every show, isn't it? The jump the shark, right? That's where we are. Okay.
Yeah, basically, we're on the downward. We're on the downward spiral now, which to the point where the as you rightly said, they're using the same analogy, where the TV show gets cancelled.
Yeah, and then in about 10, 20 years' time, we'll all be gathered together for a really, really miserable reunion. And if anybody saw that Friends reunion, I mean, fucking hell, what the? Anyway, what the hell was that?
There was a nice article in The Guardian about that.
There was a few, actually. Right, anyway. Segal, a Russian citizen, proposed to crack down on businesses that damage the environment. He says without being able to arrest people when we just find them, they're probably making more money off the production of things that are defiling the environment, he said in his welcome speech. Segal, a US-born martial artist, is best known for producing and starring in action movies, while Putin, who granted him citizenship, is a fan of martial arts. Segal posed for pictures with one... I mean, it's all very... Rob, let's move on from the story. It all just sounds a bit...
What I love about that, just watching you... I mean, the viewers will never see this, but obviously we do this over Zoom, and I just saw the enthusiasm drain from your face. Yeah. You look like you'd lost the will to live in that very moment.
Well, Rob, I'm just going to finish on one story that's been reported in many places. In this instance, it's from the smokinggun.com in the United States. You can find it in many places. And now we turn to Trump. So we have crossed the... Do you remember when George Bush talked about the axis of evil, Rob?
Yeah.
Well, I've got my own axis of evil that I've covered here. North Korea, Russia, and now Trump, right? Headline, Trumpman, in quotes, busted for serial pooping spree. So this happened on June the 3rd, Rob. A 70-year-old Ohio man who told cops he was, in quotes, a Trumpman, confessed to repeatedly urinating and defecating in front of a neighbour's home because the residents, in quotes, are Democrats and support Joe Biden, according to a police report.
So was he maintaining he was some sort of vigilante called Trumpman, and the way that he I don't know, fights crime is by shitting on the lawns of Democrats?
Yes. Jerry Detrick, the accused...
Right.
I can never say that word. Septuagenarian. I don't think I've said that right.
I think that's close enough.
Serial pooper was cited Sunday for littering after the homeowner caught him in the act around 3:15 a.m. in Greenville, a western Ohio city. This is 3:15 in the morning, Rob. Investigators say that Matthew Guyette called 911 after spotting a man squatting down and relieving himself near a privet hedge outside the home of Guyette, who is 59, who shares with his husband. Upon being confronted by Guyette, the suspect got up and walked away from the property. Based on the description provided by Guyette, police subsequently identified Detrick, a retired high school teacher, Rob, as a suspect in the pre-dawn pooping. Detrick lives a couple of blocks from Guyette's residence. During police questioning, Detrick reportedly admitted to urinating in Guyette's yard on May the 30th and also admitted to previously defecating on the victim's property, in quotes, multiple times. Detrick's cops say admitted targeting the home because Guyette and his spouse are Democrats and support Joe Biden, while he is a Trump man. I imagine probably them being gay is something he has a problem with as well. Would that be fair?
I would imagine so,
to
yeah.
Assume. I'm going to assume that. I don't want to accuse anybody of homophobia, but this man supports Trump and is shitting on the door of a gay couple. Looks about right. A patrolman noted that Detrick's statement leads me to believe this incident is politically motivated. Cited for littering. I have to say, I find it odd that this comes under the bracket of littering. I mean...
Surely it's public indecency, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I would think...
You would think.
Yeah. Well, anyway, in a Facebook post following Detrick's bust, Guyette wrote of an eventful early morning and the apprehension of the man who's been shitting in our front yard for the past 10 years. The pooper, Guyette noted, would leave behind 3 or 4 crumpled up restaurant napkins he used to clean himself. That was my clue that I'd had a visitor. So there we go.
Yeah, something's not right, is it?
Exactly, Rob. Okay, Rob, you got some stories for us.
Yeah, I've got 3 stories this week, which, I mean, yeah, I think they're all quite strong, quite frankly. The first one is from the Traitorous Guardian, from the 28th of May. There's no journalist, it's from Reuters. Canadian MP caught on camera urinating weeks after naked incident.
So a bit similar to the one I just read out then.
Pretty much. But he was an elected official and was doing it in front of people, literally.
Dear Lord. This is just adding to the evidence, Rob. It's adding to the mound of evidence.
I think my last story Alex will really hammer that home.
Maybe we could put the universe on trial. The people versus the universe, and local anaesthetic and all of its episodes could be used as part of the supplementary evidence.
Yeah, the problem with that, Alex, I think I can already imagine what the outcome is.
Right. What's that?
And it's not good for humanity.
Oh, okay, right, okay, yeah.
A Canadian MP is temporarily stepping down from his duties and is seeking assistance after being caught on camera urinating during parliamentary proceedings, a month after being caught naked on camera during a virtual appearance.
Oh, I heard about this. I did hear about this. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last night, while attending the House of Commons proceedings virtually in a non-public setting, I urinated without realising I was on camera, said William Amos, a member of Justin Trudeau's ruling Liberal Party, in an apology posted to Twitter late on Thursday. I am deeply embarrassed by my actions and the distress that they have caused anybody who witnessed them, he said. I apologise unreservedly. Amos was talking on his phone at his desk when he decided to urinate into a coffee cup rather than pause or end the call, where public reporters on Twitter cited.
Oh, I see. So he forgot to turn the screen off, stood up, pissed in a cup.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I just keep a bucket underneath me during Zoom calls.
Exactly, that's how you do it. Or, you just purchase a catheter off eBay. Make sure it's not used.
Yeah.
Canada's official opposition Conservatives called Amos's behaviour unacceptable and questioned whether the incident was an accident. There was a pattern of behaviour from Mr. Amos, and it's clear that Trudeau's Liberals failed in their duty to ensure a safe working environment following the incident.
Oh, come on, but it's an innocent mistake. It's not a man exposing. It's not like one of those people who's doing it for some sort of sexual kick. He's just made an error. It's not exposing people to
think
harm.
It is a genuine accident.
I do think we should be, tolerant of these kind of mistakes in the current environment, Rob.
Yeah. Amos said he will remain a member of Parliament, but will temporarily give up his parliamentary secretary and committee roles. Amos acts as assistant to Francois-Philippe Champagne, the industry minister. Great name. The Quebec-based lawyer said he would be seeking assistance. I don't know what with, maybe with how to use Zoom, but did not make clear what type of help he was looking for. Amos first came to media attention in April after a screenshot was leaked to media showing him completely naked on an internal government viral call. Video call, sorry.
Wouldn't you love it if this happened to Michael Gove?
I mean, Alex, no one was. I mean, at least with this guy. I mean,
that would break the universe, Rob.
Can I just say, by the way, I'm not trying to body shame Michael Gove, but this man was quite ripped.
Rob, I've never seen a more hideous person in my life than Michael Gove. It's
just his face. His face just looks like... do you remember... I know you're not really a Star Trek fan, but on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, there's a character called Odo who's a shapeshifter.
I like Deep Space Nine.
Oh, do you know? Oh, right, okay. Do you remember the character of Odo who's a shapeshifter?
Yes.
He kind of had this nondescript rubber face.
I find Deep Space Nine very comforting.
You're right. There is something about Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
Can I just say, for me, Deep Space Nine has the best theme tune of all of them. It's really
Rob,
reassuring.
When you and I met, this is one of the reasons why Rob and I struck up a friendship, but this is one thing we never talked about. When I met you, at that time in my life, on my MP3 player or phone or whatever, I had the Deep Space Nine theme music and would listen to it regularly. I love it. I think it's by Jerry Goldsmith, beautiful. Which is why it's so good.
It's really, it's not bombastic. It's orchestral. It's very melodic. It's just beautiful. Maybe Alex, we just cut it into this episode for no apparent reason whatsoever.
I don't know that we can.
No.
Deep Space Nine soundtrack. I'm just having a look. Was I right that it was Jerry Goldsmith? I'm pretty sure I was.
Just to say, by the way, just to finish off the article, at the time Amos said he was changing into his work clothes after a jog and did not realise his camera was turned on, which is why he was completely naked at the time.
Right. Yes, he wrote the main title theme to Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Did not know that.
Deep Space Nine is also just one hell of a fucking show title.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
What I liked about it, Rob, it was a bit like a soap opera in space.
That's a very good description. It always felt like the He was always the black sheep of the Star Trek family, and I don't know, but I always liked Captain Sisko as well. He always had this really commanding manner about him.
Yeah, all right, Rob.
I'd let him bore me any day. Anyway, right, next story. This is from Vice. I did actually find a story from I think it was from the South China Mail or something like that, but they had a paywall, so fuck that. So the story is by Viola Zhou, I think that's correct. And the headline, Chinese zoo sorry for not revealing 3 leopards were on the loose.
Sorry, Chinese zoo, yeah? Not
No, Chinese zoo, yeah.
You can't just apologize. That's not the kind of thing you can apologise for afterwards. Look, we made a mistake. We should have let people know. We decided, you know what, we don't want to panic people, so we'll just keep it internal. But on retrospect, yeah, we probably should have said something.
A fortnight, Alex. A fortnight. They didn't let people know.
What? They were roaming for a fortnight?
Yeah, the leopards were loose for a fortnight before letting people know.
So they were letting people come through their doors in their hordes with leopards roaming around.
No, they weren't in the zoo. They'd escaped the zoo. They were in the city, Alex. So Chinese authorities...
Hang on a minute, Rob. Right. Okay, let's just focus on this. Given what you're saying about this story, right? Okay, let me just contextualize this. There is, in China, an unintentional release of something highly dangerous and deadly.
Yep.
And officials cover it up and don't let anybody know until much later. Just thinking, could be a connection.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this could be a systemic issue in China. I mean, if you can let it, can you imagine, Rob, London Zoo accidentally letting out 3 cheetahs and not letting anybody in London know for 2 weeks? Can you imagine?
It'd be quite, I mean, I think the zoo would be shut down in this country if that happened, because
you think the zoo would be shut down? Yes, it would be shut down immediately, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So, Chinese authorities are still searching for a 3rd leopard that escaped from a wildlife country park a month ago after the zoo triggered public outcry for not disclosing that 3 of the big caps were on the loose. So, Alex, they've only caught 2 of them, and it's been a month. There's still a 3rd leopard on the loose.
Sorry, how does a leopard hide? What city is this? Don't say Beijing.
So it's from the Hangzhou Safari Park. Where's the location?
It doesn't matter. The point is, how the fuck does a leopard go undetected? Do you think somebody's taken it in?
Quite possibly.
Just like, like how you get these old women who take in cats, even though they belong to somebody, and start feeding them and shit. I reckon there's some old Chinese biddy out there who's got a cheetah in her living room, just thinks it's a cute kitty.
Yeah, she just thinks it's a little fat cat, and she's just feeding it, whiskers or something, or whatever the Chinese equivalent is. It's more than possible, Alex. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So the trio of leopards escaped from the Hangzhou Safari Park in eastern China, but despite reports of sightings from local residents, the zoo denied the incident for fear of scaring visitors away during the International Labour Day national holiday in early May.
I just keep thinking about the Wuhan lab, Rob. I keep thinking about the Wuhan lab here. I'm sorry. This is awful.
I understand that. So, like I said, residents have seen the leopards. They reported sightings, and the zoo denies it because they're worried that it's going to scare visitors away.
And did nobody in the hierarchy of that zoo realise at some point this is going to come back to bite us? Pardon the pun. At some point, it's going to be evident that we've lied about this. Do you see what I mean? There was no way to cover this up effectively because, unlike a virus that can't be seen and you can't really prove where it came from, this is a fucking cheetah.
Yeah.
Hear them.
Yeah. Leopard, Alex.
Sorry, leopards.
Which, to be fair, it's the same thing. So, it only apologised for the escaped animals on May 8th, more than 2 weeks after the zoo quietly recaptured 1 leopard. A second leopard
quietly.
Was found the same
Can
day.
you imagine these guys driving around in a van, Rob, by the cover of darkness? They've got the silencer gun, do you know what I mean? Or the tranquilizer gun. And they get... What a story. This needs to be made into a movie.
Oh, absolutely. I just imagine that they've managed to track down the leopard. They put like back in the 1980s when like a suspect was taken to prison. They used to put a blanket over his head and put him in the back of the van. That's what they were doing with the cheetah.
They did extraordinary rendition to this to these leopards. And they brought them back. Roman interrogated them.
ask them about their anti-communist activities.
Exactly.
All three animals were about 2.5 years old and have not reached adulthood. So again, going back to your theory about the old woman, there's a possibility that maybe it's not a full-grown leopard, so there's even more likelihood that she's, named it Tiddles and was keeping her in her back room. Not a euphemism. The cover prompted online outrage over the park's failure to warn residents to protect wildlife. 5 men have been put under criminal investigation, which seems fair. In order to find the last leopard, authorities have dispatched hundreds of workers, search and rescue dogs, and drones. Helicopters were used to search an area of about 25,000 acres, which is about, as the article says, about the size of Paris.
Given the incompetence of this zoo, it wouldn't surprise me if it turned out that 3 hadn't escaped, only 2, and they forgot the one had died a few weeks ago, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like, or maybe even more, do we trust them that even 3 escaped? What if it was 5? You just don't, you can't trust anything they say now, Rob.
It's just, at best, it's an educated guess.
Exactly.
Thermal imaging cameras have been installed in the mountains, and some 100 live chickens were released as bait to lure the animal out.
Sorry. Again, I'm just adjusting to this timeline. 100 live chickens were released as bait.
Yes. So,
what if the leopard doesn't like chicken? What if he's a vegan?
Good question.
What if he's a lamb man?
Well, then obviously, then they go into that's when they talk about the graduation theory, and they start releasing large animals into the wild for the leopards until they release the elephants and realise they made a catastrophic mistake.
Okay, that's got me. That has, Rob. Listen, why do they need to release 100 live chickens when there's already bait walking around the city in the form of human beings everywhere? I mean, what I mean is this leopard doesn't need any extra incentive, I don't think. Has anybody been attacked or mauled?
No, thankfully not.
Right.
But also, they're searching an area that's 25,000 acres, which, as I said, is the size of Paris. Where have they released these chickens? How do they know? Or have they literally just released 100 chickens for no apparent reason in an area that could be
just in
completely
one spot,
unrelated? Yeah. Oh, dear.
So it's looking for a leopard in a haystack. Sorry. Trying to find a leopard in a city the size of Paris. How big is Paris compared to London, Rob? Obviously, the bound...
I would say it's an area the size of Paris, but it's not a city the size of Paris, but there are residents living in it.
Okay, when you say Paris, so what size of the London would that be? Would that be like Greater London, less?
I think Paris is about the size of London. I think roughly it's about
Greater London. Greater London or not great, not including the suburbs?
Greater London.
Sorry.
25,000 acres.
You can't. And how many workers did you say they'd released to look for it?
They've dispatched hundreds of workers, search and rescue and drones.
Hundreds? That's not enough. You need the military.
No.
Don't you? China have one of the biggest militaries in the world. You cannot just leave a leopard roaming around a city the size of London.
Agreed. Yeah.
And sorry, Rob, let's just think about this. Did you say 100 chickens?
Yes.
If you let out 100 chickens and space them equally over all of Greater London, there would be miles between them.
Yeah, exactly. It is utterly bizarre. I mean, it's like they're not even trying to find this leopard.
That's like chucking a handful of bird seed over a football. No, it's not even like that. It's like chucking 1 grain of sand on a football pitch and hoping. I don't understand this, Rob.
I really imagine that there'll be a story in a couple of weeks that once all the furore has died down, they're just gonna write off their losses. They'll just say, "Oh well, it's gone, isn't it? We tried."
I like the idea though of them packing. You know when you get these wildfires, Rob, and you send a helicopter or a plane over with a big load of water.
Yeah,
and it drops it over it. I like the idea that you pack one of those vessels full of chickens and you just fly over this city and you just drop them. You do what I mean? To get a good even covering, and then you hope that the leopard, finds one of them.
You don't want to be the one resident who's just standing on the floor as all these chicken carcasses come raining down around you. I mean, that's apocalyptic.
Sounds like Bernard Matthews' Heaven, although that was turkeys, obviously.
Good point,
Rob.
Right?
Before you say no, I need to ask a question.
Okay.
One thing doesn't make sense about this. So you've released a chicken, right? 100 chickens.
Yep.
How do you know if one of them's eaten by the leopard? What does it mean? It doesn't lead to anything. Are you going around and counting the chickens after? Shit, there's only 99. One of them's been eaten by who? Well, we don't know if it was by the leopard or just by a hungry vagrant. What I mean is, it doesn't help you catch it.
No, not in the slightest.
It just feeds it.
This
Rob.
is the thing, Alex.
All it does is feed it. You want to starve the thing. Surely.
That's a good point. Yeah.
All you're doing is feeding it and making it grow.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a zoologist who said that there's a good possibility that the leopard might die naturally because it's been raised in captivity, which is a good point. But you're giving it a ready source of food.
Yeah, I reckon this, Rob. I'm telling you now. We all like a good origin story. Yeah, the Marvel universe is full of them.
Yeah,
this right now is the origin story of Top Cat.
Oh my God.
This is how Top Cat came to be, living in a bin with his sort of cronies. He started off being an escaped leopard from a Chinese zoo. There you go. There's your movie.
That's brilliant, Alex. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Now, I do have one more story, which I found quite late on this morning, but I really do want to cover it. I mean, the headline alone is just fantastic. I hope
it's not the story I want to read out next, but let's see. I've got a feeling it could be. I don't know why.
Okay, let me try it. I'm hoping it's not, but it is a great story. So,
what publication is it from?
It's from the Metro.
Okay, go
on. It's UK based.
Yes.
It's about a biblical figure.
No, good.
Okay, right. So, it's by Katie Clifton from the 4th of June, and the headline: Noah's Ark impounded in Ipswich for not having paperwork to say it's seaworthy.
This is absolutely, and it really connects so beautifully to your last story, Rob, because it kind of feels like, you know, when Noah was putting together the ark and just before he set sail, some of the cheetahs escaped, or the leopards or whatever. He didn't let anybody know, you know.
Just release them into the wild. There's something about Noah's Ark being impounded in Ipswich, which really sets the scene.
Yeah, it's quite evocative, I'll be honest. I'm intrigued, Rob. Tell me more.
So, an international incident of biblical proportions has kicked off on Norwich's waterfront. A replica of Noah's Ark is currently stuck there because it doesn't have the correct paperwork to say it's seaworthy.
Definition of the word replica. An exact copy or model of something, especially one on a smaller scale, but it can be the same scale.
Yeah.
How the fuck is anybody making, or how the fuck are they calling this a replica of Noah's Ark? And number one, we don't know if Noah's Ark was really a thing or just an analogy. Or number two, we don't have any blueprints of it. What do you mean a replica? It's not even close to a replica.
It's like the cheetahs from the leopards from the zoo. It is an educated guess. I mean, it's quite
I need to see a picture of this. Did you say it was Ipswich?
Yeah, Ipswich. I think if you put Ipswich Noah's Ark, it will come up.
Because I obviously have to see this replica. Fucking hell, it's quite a thing of beauty, actually.
It's huge. Yeah.
Wow. It's made out of wood, is it?
Yeah.
Who the fuck? I need to find out about who the fuck made this thing.
Well, it doesn't mention that. So, the vessel arrived at the Orwell Quay in November 2019. Has been detained there for 18 months by the Coastguard. The owners of the Dutch flag Ark are locked in an impossible stalemate with the agency, and now Transport Secretary Grant Shapps has been asked to get involved.
Oh, great!
Can you imagine? I mean, let's face it. Grant Shapps is the most competent man in the best of times. But getting a letter saying, "Can you intervene in this international dispute about Noah's Ark?"
Grant Shapps gets a number of name checks on the latest Alan Partridge series, Rob, because it seems that they are friends. So just to let you know.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So the £2.6 million Biblical Museum is owned by Dutch TV producer Adab Peters, who could apply for an exemption to allow it to return to Holland. But the Coast Guard has serious concerns and insists it is not safe. So it is a biblical museum, Alex.
What the fuck does that mean?
Noah.
Sorry, what? I don't understand this story. It's getting £500 a day fine since April 1st. Why is it there? Why is it in this dock?
Because it's not seaworthy. So the Coast Guard has impounded it because they believe it's not fit to sail.
In what way is it not? I'm looking at it now. If it's got there, it must have been fit to sail, no?
Well, okay. So the Coast Guard found a range of issues, including overdue service for life-saving equipment such as life jackets, fire kits, and lifeboats, they said they could not rely on the grace of God to let the boat leave. Which I think is the ultimate irony.
So it's not stuff full of animals, two of every kind, then?
No, it's just stuff full of exhibitions, God knows what. But
so it's nothing to do with Noah's Ark, then, is it? Noah did not create an ark and make it a museum. It's not a replica of the ark. It's not even close to the ark because it doesn't even serve the purpose that the ark served, Rob, which was to save kind of the remnants of humanity and the kingdom of creatures from the great deluge.
I mean, Alex, if it had been the case that this vessel had sailed into to Ipswich full of animals, let's face it, they would have been accused of smuggling. So, so the owner said in a statement, the requirement to obtain full registration and require certificates was and may not be achieved within the required timescales and would incur unreasonable costs and time delays to the vessel. So they are now considering towing it back to Holland.
I again, Rob, step back, look at the stage, look at this story. It's ridiculous, Rob.
It is, Alex.
If all of our timeline is being written by a team of writers somewhere in a room, you have to admit that the stories are getting desperate, Rob.
I mean, Alex,
it is what happens to shows where you have to get more and more surreal and more ridiculous because you've run out of ideas. Look at the 9th season of Seinfeld, which, by the way, was brilliant, but it became very surreal because they'd run out of ideas. They couldn't cover normal topics anymore. It's absolutely brilliant. If only our current universe was like the 9th season of Seinfeld, I'd be quite happy, but it's not, Rob. It's like what was the show that really did get shit towards the end?
Well, I think the obvious example is Happy Days, because the phrase "jump the shark" is literally because Fonzie jumped a shark, and maybe it had gone from the realms of believable to the realms of fantastical.
Yeah, he jumped a shark with his motorbike. Okay, Rob, let's leave that. I want to cover two things before we move on to our listener story of the week.
Okay.
I can't believe you haven't covered this story. The listener story of the week, is it about a birthday card?
No.
Right, this is from the Daily Mirror. It's by John Bett, who's apparently their audience writer. What the fuck does that mean? 24th of...
Isn't every journalist an audience writer? Who else are you writing for?
What, exactly. Husband forced to apologise to wife after offensive birthday card mix-up.
I haven't seen this.
A husband, Rob, was left red-faced after a birthday card mix-up saw him accidentally call his wife Minge Face. Greg Morgan, 44, admits he often leaves things to the last minute, and he had to turn to Brainbox Candy to ensure Angela, also 44, had a card to open on her birthday. He picked the perfect card and added a personalised message, but when it arrived in the post, he was shocked when he saw the card read, and I'm looking at the card in massive letters, Happy Birthday Minge Face.
Okay. I've got questions, but continue.
Well, Brainbox Candy have since apologised for the mix-up and admitted the order must have slipped through the net. But thankfully, Angela from Caerphilly Wells was able to see the funny side. Now, let's just row back a second. I think Brainbox Candy have got away from this lightly. What do you mean, has slipped through the net? He didn't order anything like this card. Somebody there on their last day has decided to send this out. This is out of order. This is outrageous.
Yeah, because that's obviously not a typo. Someone has done that deliberately.
So, Rob,
they need to investigate that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Rob. There is easy. There's a picture of the man now. Here, I'm looking at it with his partner, who's holding up the card. The card is shaped like a slice of toast, Rob.
Hang on, let me have a look. Right, okay.
Well, and for the listeners, it's shaped like like a kind of burnt slice of toast, and written over the toast is Happy Birthday Minge Face. Can you see it?
Oh, yes. But that seems to be a legitimate birthday card, Alex.
Yeah.
You can buy that exact card on Google.
Right.
So I just think what's happened is the husband may have accidentally...
Why would you send a card to anyone that says Happy Birthday Minge Face?
Because people have warped sense of humour. Alex, look, we've already discussed how we are through the looking glass. By the way, if you type into Google Happy Birthday Minge Face, you get a variety of cards that say that. Not just one, Alex. There's a few with different designs.
Well, I'm just going to move on. Right, Rob, before we get to listener story, I know we don't normally do this on the podcast,
So I've just seen a birthday card say, "Happy birthday to you in your tuna box."
What, a tuna box? I've never heard of that one before. Bloody hell.
Which just seems, yeah, anyway. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
Right, Rob, I hope you'll forgive me here. I'm doing something we don't normally do on the podcast. I want to read out a parody article I read. You know where you get these opinion pieces in newspapers? I just read a really good article recently that was a parody of the kind of thing you get from these. It's sort of like kind of thing that Alan Partridge would write.
Yeah.
And it just captured some of the stuff I do read so beautifully. Can I just read it to you? So the headline of this parody article is, because you remember Keir Starr going on Piers Morgan's Life Stories recently?
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
know about this? Yeah. And he just said, so the headline, "Spare me, Keir Starmer's tears. Bottling it all up has never done me any harm."
Right, okay.
So imagine this was written by Alan Partridge. "I once said something or did something or went somewhere that caused a group of young people to become so angry that they came to my house and threw horse manure over my garden wall. I was unbothered by this, chiefly because it landed on my flower beds. Later, when I was receiving an honorary doctorate from Oxford Brookes University, a young lady registered her disapproval of something I'd done by throwing a trifle into my face. Again, I didn't mind because A, it was delicious, and B, I subscribed to the Chumbawamba school of thinking, I get knocked down, but I get up again." You could imagine it's written by Partridge, Rob.
Yeah.
"It seems, however, that I am unusual. Other journalists are now so upset by the abuse they get, both online and in real life, that the government has employed a team of meeting enthusiasts and policemen officers to draw up an action plan. Doubtless there will be much counselling. I loathe counselling. It's just so American. You pay a lump of money to a man or woman, or a they, and they sit there while you tell them all about yourself, and then, by talking about your problems, you come to understand that your mother was to blame for everything, and this somehow helps you cope when the next eco-mentalist comes round to fertilise your face with trifle. If I thought I'd had a problem with my mother, I'd be able to work that out in my own head while doing the washing up or driving down the motorway. I cannot see why talking about it out loud or in front of someone else would make any kind of difference at all. And I certainly can't see why you would want to explore your innermost feelings on television in front of an audience of millions, but that's exactly what Sir Keir Starmer did last week when he decided to appear on the programme Piers Morgan's Life Stories. It should have been called Wearing My Hartlepool on My Sleeve. Whatever, Sir Starmer sat there with teary eyes telling us about his distant dad and his dead dog and how he'd never really talked about family relationships before. And I'll be honest, a little bit of sick came into my mouth, because the truth is that a lot of us have dead parents, and it's unmanly and un-British to sit there blubbing about them. As my dad used to say, a bore is a person who, when asked how he is, tells you. Harry Markle is another offender. This man is an army officer, so he should know better than to make a programme in which he waxes lyrical about the awfulness of his upbringing. The me you can't see is what it's called, though the me you don't want to see is nearer the mark. I was completely unstaggered to hear last week that a tennis player had pulled out of the French Open, saying that doing press conferences made her depressed, but then I was very staggered to see that all the fetuses on social media immediately leapt to her defence, saying of course she shouldn't have to do something she doesn't want to do. But you see, she does. We all do. How long will it be before I refuse to write a column because not sitting in the sunshine is causing me stress? Half the time when people say they have mental health issues, they mean they're feeling unhappy. And what's wrong with that? If we're never unhappy, we'll never know what happiness feels like, which means we would become one long beige enterprise like being trapped in Theresa May's underwear drawer. I've been unhappy in my life, and I've either sorted it out myself, which means I have a stiff upper lip, or I've quietly talked to a friend. My real beef is that when all these sport brats are running around saying they have mental health issues, we won't be listening properly the next time someone who really does have a problem who asks for help. So that was the article, which I'm now going to reveal was not a parody article, Rob. That was written today by Jeremy Clarkson in the Sunday Times.
You're fucking joking.
The whole story from beginning to end is genuine. It's Jeremy Clarkson's column. Which is, spare me the Keir Starmer's tears, bottling it all up has never done me any harm. Rob,
But again, I do wonder with Jeremy Clarkson whether it's... I don't know whether he actually believes this. I mean, let's face it, we know he is right-wing. We know he is most likely a bigot.
Friends with Cameron. Yeah.
But I do think he talks this up. He's like...
He's looking for Piers Morgan. He's like Piers Morgan.
Yeah, but it's also like Stuart Lee. It's just Stuart Lee a few years ago went on this rampage about various different comedians, and then in order to defend his comments, he said, "Oh, that was just the character of Stuart Lee talking." And I do wonder whether Clarkson embodies this persona of Jeremy Clarkson, the personality.
I don't think Jeremy Clarkson knows who he is, as is evidenced by that article about how he copes with his own mental health difficulties, which he clearly has by bottling it all up.
Yeah.
And that's we have to put up with this shit. But when you're writing for a national newspaper and you're putting this stuff out, and you know, like, anyway, I just thought I had to read that out. But yes, just to prove that the line between reality and fiction, Rob, is becoming harder and harder to judge. That would be more evidence of it in my case. Right.
I mean, I would like to say, Alex, I do like the phrase "one long beige enterprise." That really that resonated with me.
One long beige enterprise.
Oh, and the yellow wind of communism.
The yellow wind of capitalism. I don't know how you can put those two things together though, so that they work. What are you doing, Rob?
I'm just making the headline, Alex. Nothing more exciting than that.
Okay, Rob, before we get to... Well, it is time for our listener story of the week, but, I like to play my recorder before then. And as you know, Rob, each week, and we'll be doing this for a long time, I've been writing a song to commemorate another 2 weeks of baby Lyra's life. How old is she now?
She is 7 weeks.
Right. This is called 7 Weeks.
I'm very grateful that. So when we're doing this over Zoom, the Zoom cuts out the recorder sounds. So I only get to really appreciate the full
Is that true?
nuanced performance during the recording. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm very thankful for that because it means I only have to listen to it
so,
once.
Rob, why'd you never text me and say like, oh, that was really good? Rob?
Sorry, Alex, what were you saying?
Okay, look, it's time for our listener story. Rob's joking around. He does text me and he appreciates it. Sometimes he even sends me a card. He says, thanks for the recording, Minge face.
And Happy birthday, Minge face.
And I take it as it's meant. Right, Rob, who's the story from?
So this week is from Amy.
Amy in Nottingham.
Yes, close enough. It is from the Metro from the 24th of May. The journalist is Harrison Jones.
What a great name.
Yeah, it is good.
I kind of feel like anybody called Harrison must be named after Harrison Ford because it's just not a common name.
Let's face it, Alex. Harrison Jones.
Oh my God, Indiana. You're right. Fucking hell, that is a proper fan.
Yeah, there's no mistaking that.
Yeah,
okay, headline.
Right. If that's coincidence, then yeah, I'm.
Yes, someone's been playing around there. So, headline: couple find out absolutely gorgeous pate they were eating was cat food.
What?
Now,
if it's absolutely gorgeous, don't worry about it.
Well, that's
Rob,
true. Yeah.
Look, one thing people don't know about Rob is at a difficult time in his life. I mean, I know you confided this in me, Rob, but I don't. It's just you, me, and the listeners. Rob spent a year living on cat food, didn't you,
Alex? Look, what people need to realise is that by law, both cat food and dog food has to be fit for human consumption. So
is that right? Why is that the law?
I don't know. It is
so the government can say it's fine. Okay, right.
So the government can say those on low incomes are okay to eat cat food and dog food when it's revealed by the press. I joke around, but I imagine that probably has happened at some stage or another. So first of all, this first sentence just seems, to me, slightly inappropriate. A mum howled with laughter after her elderly parents asked her to buy the more gorgeous pate, only to discover they'd been eating a tin of cat food. Now, I don't think that she should be laughing at her elderly parents who have been eating cat food, personally.
Oh, it's her elderly parents who've been eating.
Yeah. Oh,
well, yeah.
So she'd obviously bought the cat food for them, and then they apparently just started eating it, thinking it was pate. So Angela Holloway had been shopping for her mum, Margaret Lincoln, and stepdad Donald Lincoln throughout the coronavirus crisis, but usually separates the pet food from the rest of the shopping.
Rob, sorry, is Angela named after the prison?
I don't know, Alex. I have no idea. It's a good question.
Maybe that's where she was conceived.
I mean, it's possible. There's no indication that her parents have been to prison.
My name's Angela Holloway. Yeah, I'm named after the prison. Yeah.
And this is my
what other prisons are there? What other prisons are there?
Pentonville, Strangeways. Strangeways is a great name for Dennis Strangeways.
This is on our names list. Dennis Strangewells and Alexander Pentonville.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Wandsworth isn't quite as good. Belmarsh, I do think is a good name for
Billy Belmarsh.
Billy Belmarsh. He sounds like a wrong'un. Anyway.
Billy, in quotes, the Bellend Belmarsh.
So that meant that the 59-year-old was confused last week when her mum told her they had a really lovely dinner of absolutely gorgeous pate and baked bread. The Sheffield couple who now live in France.
What's baked bread?
I'm guessing just... Well, you know you can get those bread rolls that you stick in the oven.
Yeah,
I'm guessing it's that.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
Unless they just like to call toast baked bread. I don't know. Yeah, try and make it sound more fancy. The Sheffield couple who now live in France were eating with Angela's sister, Beverly Weston. Again, different name, but that's okay. But no one had noticed the cat food on the packaging, and they struggled to read the French labelling.
Sorry, the sister's called Beverly Weston.
Yeah.
So she's named after a hotel chain.
Yeah.
And the other one's named after prison. It's all to do with where they were conceived, I'm telling you now.
It's Beverly, in brackets, Best Weston. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, are we referring to HMP?
They got a cousin. Go on.
Are we referring to HMP prisons as a holiday chain?
No, we're saying it's all to do with where they were conceived. So Angela Holloway was conceived at Holloway Prison. The other one was conceived at Best Western. And then they've got a brother called Adrian Sainsbury's Car Park.
Adrian back for transit.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. So no one noticed that there's a cat. There's a cat on the tin, and obviously they live in France, so they didn't realise that what quite worries me. They live in France, but apparently can't read French, which really, to me, kind of typifies expats.
Sorry, so these are people who live in France. Yes, it does. Yes, it absolutely does. Live in France and went to their local grocery shop and picked up a can of cat food thinking it was pate. No,
the daughter been shopping for them because of the coronavirus, and she usually separates out the cat food. But obviously, it just lumped in together. So her elderly parents sat down for a lovely dinner of cat food on toast.
And they thought it was delicious.
Yeah, they basically asked her. She was going shopping again for them, and they asked her for another tin of this gorgeous pate. So upholsterer, again, no, I don't know why that's relevant. Upholsterer Angela said that her 8-year-old said that when her 8-year-old Margaret, did they mean mother? Anyway, showed her the tin, which they had finished off completely, she burst into laughter. The family moved to France in 2015 and admitted reading the French labels can still prove tricky, though Margaret thought the feline picture on the tin was enough of a giveaway. She said, honestly, I nearly wet myself. I was absolutely howling with laughter. My mother started laughing when my sister started laughing. My sides were splitting. My mouth was hurting. I was laughing that much.
Yeah, we get it. You found it funny. Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that your 80-year-old mother had just eating cat food, apparently that was hilarious. None of the trio became ill from eating the tuna-based food, which was meant for their cat Aggie, though Margaret and Beverly, 56, saw the funny side. The 95-year-old stepdad was less amused. She said his face was aghast. He said jokingly, "What are you doing? Trying to poison me?
Get out of my house.
Don't come back here." And the story goes on like that, really.
Right. We were just talking about toast there, Rob, and baked bread. And of course, the card earlier featured baked bread or toast with the word "Happy Birthday Minge Face" on it.
Maybe she'll find a novelty card that says, "I've been feeding you cat food for all this time." Something along those lines. I don't know. Stick it in French, they'll never know.
Okay, Rob, what a lovely joke there to end the podcast on. We look forward with a mixture of eager anticipation yet trepidation to our next episode, which will be episode 339, I believe it is, Rob.
Yes.
As we move ever more forward, he says, scrambling here, as we move ever more forward, as we move ever more forward, has anything moved forward this week? Noah's Ark, Rob.
I mean, it hasn't moved for the last 18 months, Alex.
Yeah, but it's going to, Rob. It's going to move forward, and it's going to rescue humanity from this shitstorm we're in. Because really, if you are God looking down at this now, you are thinking, I think now's time to hit the reset button again, guys.
Yeah.
This is bad. Yeah, this is bad.
I mean,
we need to just start again.
When someone tries to build Noah's Ark and it's still not seaworthy, you know that unfortunately everyone has failed. Just like that, we move ever more forward to our next episode, which will be 339. We're on our website, lapodcast.net. From there you can download all of our previous episodes. There's a donate button in the top right hand corner if you feel like donating to the worthy cause. It's this podcast. We're on Spotify. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LA Podcast, Twitter @LA Podcast. If you want to send us a story. So Rob's saying that in a couple of episodes' time, episode 340, it'll be a listener story special. We've already got plenty, but keep sending them in, and you can feature on one of our regular episodes or the listener story special. Just email it to us at lapodcast.net@gmail.com. That is lapodcast.net@gmail.com. Right, Rob, it's time for the headlines, which never made it. I only have 2. 4.
Right, then you should go first.
Okay. First headline: Third eye invented to stop smartphone zombies from bumping into things.
I thought this. What the fuck's this about?
It's just a camera that attaches to your phone. So basically, it attaches...
Oh, you mean not real zombies? It's to stop us.
No. You attach it to your forehead, and apparently it alerts you for when you're about to come into contact with something.
This is the world we want to live in. Right, give us another one, Rob.
Yeah. This is great. Don't kiss or snuggle your chickens. CDC warns of salmonella outbreak linked to backyard flocks.
Right, and that would also apply for the people in this Chinese city. Don't go hugging those chickens.
Exactly, yeah.
They're for eating, not for affection.
Exactly.
All right, it's me. As evidence, Rob, evidence of my alternative timeline hypothesis since the year 2000. Headline: QAnon now as popular in the US as some major religions, poll suggests.
I mean, that's just concerning, quite frankly.
Yes, it is, but can I just give you the numbers?
Go on.
A poll found that 15% of Americans say they think the levers of power are controlled by a cabal of Satan-worshipping paedophiles, which is a core belief of QAnon supporters. 15%. And a full 20% of respondents said they thought a biblical scale storm would soon sweep away evil elites and restore the rightful leaders. It's 1 in 5.
I honestly don't know what to say to that, because it's so...
If you've got in a country a homegrown extremist wing, of let's say 1 in 5 people, you are seriously in fucking trouble. Seriously in trouble.
Alex, this is the developed nation. This is a first world country. This has an established education system, and yet people are genuinely believing this.
Yeah.
Okay, well, look.
Anyway, Rob.
Yeah, this is slightly more light-hearted. So, Dracula's Castle offers visitors COVID jab and free visit to torture exhibition.
Okay, fine. Is it?
Because why the hell not?
Okay, this is lighthearted. San Francisco man returns Bob Dylan album to library, 48 years overdue. Now, lovely. I will put my hand up here and say, you know, some of the great artists, Bob Dylan, those records do need repeat listens, Rob, to fully appreciate it.
Exactly.
And I think he's finally I got it now. To be fair to him, he worked out how much that would be with interest in fines, and he voluntarily just paid it. Nobody asked him to.
Seriously?
He wrote them a check for $175, a tithe, if you
fair
will.
play.
About a 10% of what the dime a day late fee in effect in July 1973 would have added up to. So it's not really honest. He's only paying 10% of what he should be paying. You know.
So a bit of a bastard then, really.
Yeah, a bit nasty.
I've kind of cheated here because I didn't want to read the story, but I just wanted to mention it. So this is from the Somerset Live, and the headline is "What it's like to be a dog in a hot car. We endure 30-degree temperatures to find out." So The Somerset Live sent two of its reporters.
How did you not read this out as a main story? Do you remember that guy who went around reviewing fish and chip shop years ago?
Yeah.
This is what our local news now thinks is a story. We're gonna. Are you kidding me? This story is so good.
Two journalists in a car.
What did they do?
They put two journalists in a car for 30 minutes just to see what it would be like to experience. What it would be like to be a hot dog.
One survived.
And there's a timeline.
Can you read out the timeline?
Oh, I'm going to have to find this. Hang on. I just copy the headline. The pictures, by the way, I would encourage them to, because it's just basically two very, very miserable journalists sitting in a locked car in a car park.
This is making me wet myself. Rob, you've made a catastrophic error again here. This is saving the best to last. Somerset Live. What is it? Dog car.
Yeah, okay. So they are in 5-minute increments.
Give me the headline, please.
So, what it is like for a dog in a hot car, we endure 30-degree temperatures to find out.
Okay, I've got it. This is making me literally really need the bathroom. It's made me want to wet myself. Oh my... The pictures of them. These two blokes. Can you see the sweat through that guy's shirt?
Yeah. The aftermath, that is quite horrendous. Rob,
so is this a genuine story?
There's a video, by the way. If anyone wants to see, there is a 30-minute long video. You can watch their whole venture. But they didn't quite get to 30. I suppose it's 30 minutes. They got up to highs of 24 degrees in a hot car.
Black Cat 73 just says, "It's hot, you idiot. What did you expect?"
I'm hoping that they volunteered to do this, and their editor, who was obviously completely bereft of ideas, thought, "Look, lads, I've got an idea, but it may not be too pleasant."
I have to look, Rob. That is the best to last. I just want to say I am slightly disappointed that you didn't recognise this was a milestone in local news journalism that Local Anaesthetic should have covered. I mean, we have covered it. Rob has just. We just need to be clear. There is a story in the Somerset Live where two journalists, in order to find out what it's like to be a dog in a hot car, sat in a hot car for 30 minutes, took pictures of it, and wrote about their experiences. So anybody wants to see that, go and look it up. Rob, this is a low ebb now. This is the moment Fonzie jumped the shark in local news journalism, no? This is the moment in the timeline where I will say this was the death of local news journalism. Yeah, it was uncomfortable, it was hot. You didn't need to sit in a car to work that out.
No. I mean, your experiment has basically proved absolutely nothing. It has taught us nothing. But well done anyway.
Okay, thank you for listening, everybody. We've really enjoyed your company. I know it's been a very long episode, but we wanted to give you plenty of content. We shall be back very soon with another episode of Local Anaesthetic Podcast. God bless.
And keep it local.